Hi, I'm Manuel Rode, one of 4 brothers running Rode. As a family company, we've been building kilns for over 40 years, focused on helping potters get the best results. That's why we're bringing Rode kilns to the US. Visit us at rodekilns.com or follow Rode USA on Instagram. Rode, enjoy your results. And now, enjoy the episode.
This episode is sponsored by Monkey Stuff. Monkey Stuff makes things for makers. We're inspired every day by the craft and creativity of makers and design and manufacture tools and accessories to try to make your making life a bit more delightful. Our products are designed in California, by makers and for makers, and manufactured in the USA. Check out our line of pottery accessories and tools at monkeystuff.com. Follow us on Instagram to see what we're up to in our studios, and keep on making great things.
Hey, this is Erin with Cornell Studio Supply, located in the gem city of Dayton, Ohio. As a proud sponsor of this episode, we are happy to celebrate 50 years of providing the best customer service and world-class workshops. Visit cornellstudiosupply.com for all your pottery and ceramic sculpture needs. At Cornell Studio Supply, we are owned and operated for potters, by potters.
Hello, my name is Kathy King, and welcome to the For Flux Sake podcast. I'm coming to you from the Harvard Ceramics program in our fair city, Allston, Massachusetts. I'm here with Rose and Matt Katz of the world-famous Ceramic Materials Workshop, and they are ready to answer your burning questions about clay and glaze. Well, hello, Matt and Rose.
Hey, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
Oh, for God's sakes.
No.
Oh, producer Ben, get ready. Bring the car around. I know. I have a feeling from somebody's very sad looking face. We are going to Materials Corner. Terrible.
Yep. Yeah,
Just
we should just
terrible.
live there. Yeah,
I know, right? It's like,
move
oh
in.
my God.
It's probably
like
cheaper
an
rent.
extension. Oh, well, yeah, because you can't buy anything because there's nothing to use there. Nothing works. If you tell me I have to substitute something, I'm out. I'm out.
Well, that was a good show, everybody.
Okay, good night.
Thanks, y'all.
All right. So what is it? Just pull the Band-Aid off. What is it?
So, yeah, you don't have to substitute, but what is going on is that red art, the red clay that's been
around forever.
I think that may be one material that's always been around as long as I can remember.
Yep, that and cedar art or cedar hills. Yeah.
Yeah, they have changed their mining seam. So when you mine in the earth, the material come in what are called seams. So there's basically like a ribbon of material, and they'll mine from that ribbon. And they have changed seams. I've heard different explanations as to why they have changed seams. So I don't want to get into that. But the fact is that they have changed seams. And the new seam.
And this happens all the time in mining.
All the time.
Like all the time. That's why we have geologists.
Yeah. Yeah. And the new seam, it's, from the same area, but it's not the same deposit that we've all come to know and love. And almost every red clay, dark clay in America, or at least on the East Coast of America, has red art in it. And the new seam apparently has some challenges. It's not looking good. So I still don't have a chemical analysis of the new seam to this point, but the word I am getting from people is that the iron content is actually the same, if not slightly higher, which is good. And I think when I first heard about this was a lot of people's concern that it was going to be less iron. What I am also hearing, though, is that the silica and alumina content is much higher. And this is a huge problem. You see, there's a myth out there that iron is a powerful flux. Iron's actually not a powerful flux. It's actually quite a weak flux. And when that is combated with something like silica and alumina, which is our basic glass formers, and are also insanely high temperature, very refractory, right? Silica's natural melting temperature is 1700 C. Alumina's natural melting temperature is 2000 C. Those are cone 32 and cone 42. When you increase silica and alumina and you've got a relatively weak flux like iron, that silica and alumina is going to win. And what I'm hearing is that they are a lot more refractory. Up to, I have heard that people's absorption rates in red bodies have jumped 6 to 7 times, not percent, times.
Yikes.
Okay, so bodies that were at their 0.5% absorption are now at 3 to 4% absorption by just using a 1-to-1 sub.
I'm sure producer Ben isn't listening to this, but isn't this going to majorly affect him?
It might.
It's going to affect everybody. In fact, I was just working on a project for one of our consulting clients where they had asked me just to redesign their terracotta because they had found some red clays locally that were good, and they wanted to see, could we make a terracotta body out of them? So I've been working with these clays, and the working properties were fine. And that's the other thing I should say. Apparently the new Red Art's working properties are fine. Like, it's going to work the same. But what I had found with these other red clays is that they don't fire as effectively. Like, you're not getting the same level of fire density and porosity at cone 04 where a lot of terracottas are, because that silicon alumina content is just going to come and kick it in the butt. And so, yeah, Ben, stop crying. You're going to short out your microphone from weeping so much. I don't know what the answer is. Talking to a couple of people that I know in the clay companies, they're doing their best to try to come up with a chemical substitution to try to get things back in line, but it's not a straight shot. Someone wrote me recently and said, "Oh yeah, can't I just throw a bunch of talc in there?" And the answer is, well, talc is not doing well right now because we lost our good talc, and all the talcs are much more refractory because their silica content went up by 20%. But B, no, you can't just do that. You can't just throw more talc in there, because even if the talc was melting effectively, that's going to change your thermal expansion and your vitrification level. So it's going to
still around. We just have to find a workaround.
It is still around, and it does still work. And the good news is, for everybody but producer Ben, is at cone 04, do you really care about your vitrification, your absorption levels? Not really. With the terracotta, you're making sculpture, you're making low temperature stuff. It'll probably be okay. It won't be the same color because it's under firing, and that does affect the overall color. It'll be paler. But when you're talking about making pots, Ben, stop crying. I've had to mute his mic because he just won't stop weeping. Ben, time to ceramicist up. Let's deal with this. It's not a good one, and we're going to see how clays come out. But if you're working with red clays, I would not be shocked if the colors change, because we got an email from a consulting client that's like, yeah, I'm running out of clay next week. What am I supposed to do? And it's like, oh, this is not a next week problem. This is a bigger problem.
So can we talk about something a little better?
Yeah. Well,
so international politics, everybody. Let's get into that. More happy.
No. So if you caught our last episode, I know exactly what's going to lift our spirits, people. If you caught our last episode, you know that we took questions from our visit to our National Clay Conference, NCECA, that was held in March in Detroit, Michigan, and we had a magic phone at the Ceramic Materials Workshop booth, and people got to stop by and ask questions. So we're going to continue on and answer a few more of those. Yay! All right. So let me find one. Okay. So we're going to answer a question from, I mean, hopefully, I assume, but from
Answer
sometimes
is a
we
generous
don't.
word.
Listen, so I know sometimes we don't. We just talk about things. All right. This comes from Lane from Seattle, Washington, and has a question about explosions in the kiln.
Hi, this is Ling from Seattle, Washington. I have a question wanted to ask. My question is, can anything explode after bisque firing, during glaze firing? Because that's definitely an example that happened to one of my student work, and would love to hear any explanation why things will explode during glaze firing. All right, thank you.
That's a good one.
Well, again, I want to go back to. Oh, go ahead, Kathy.
Go ahead. No. I can't think of an example that I've seen that happen.
Well, that's what I was going to say is, have any of you ever experienced that? I can't say that I have.
I think I've experienced like things popping off in glaze firing, but that's about it. Not an explosion.
Yeah,
Nope,
my first.
I take it back. Somebody glazed something green, and it wasn't dry. That was in my community studio days. That was awful.
Yeah. And I mean, producer Ben, you're going through more pots, and again, you're making pots, you're in a public studio. Have you seen this?
I have. We just had this happen the other day, but it was from gigantic user error. So what it was is someone threw a closed form, and then they put a hole in the bottom, and they reglazed it. And when they reglazed it, because it didn't come out right, which we should talk one day about glazing closed forms, because the dynamics are a little different because of the way that glaze absorbs in that type of shape. But anyway, that's a different topic. So glaze got up in the little hole, and I thought it was dry and put it in the kiln. And when I say explode, like, it's the worst explosion I've ever seen in a kiln.
Oh my God.
It embedded, like, it was on the bottom shelf. It embedded into the walls of the kiln, and it also got up onto the top shelves from so much force.
Shrapnel.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's awful. Clean up. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of those controversial things of whether or not you have to put the pinhole in there. And the pinhole is for venting. But it's really to prevent pressure from building up, because the pressure is the real problem. And, 99 times out of 100, that pressure is from water. Water is the real issue. And I guess would be my question on that type of explosion, is it still water? Is there glaze getting in there with water with the reapplication? And then that water gets trapped, because that water would still expand and would still create a tension compression relationship, which would create the explosion. So going to, I think, what I have experienced, and sort of I think what Rose is leaning in towards, is there are spontaneous failures of work that are not explosions. And these are the flaws that people will generally associate with dunting, is the general flaw. Where pots will shatter, and it could look like an explosion. And you'll see it for a number of reasons. But the classic one is pots are glazed on the inside and not the outside. That can very easily cause dunting, or two different glazes. And what it is that it's a tension compression relationship. Because ceramics are incredibly strong in compression, but incredibly weak in tension. And so if you have glazing that has tension on one side, classically, if the glaze on the inside is in tension, it's actually pulling the glaze. The inside is pulling the glaze in. So the inside is in compression, but it puts the outside in tension. And so it actually snaps and does that. And especially if the clay body is not all that strong, not vitrified, it'll tend to do that more. And so a lot of work will fail. And we have that happen all the time. It's actually not uncommon on the way we glaze, because we have these Slipcast protest test tiles that you may have seen on our social media, and we don't glaze the inside of them. And some glazes will really pull, and it'll snap. So that definitely can happen, but it's not an explosion. For there to be an explosion, you have to have some sort of release of energy. So water, I would think, trapped inside something that gets glazed, as Ben is talking about, I think definitely could be a problem. But could air do it? Yeah. I mean, air does expand. Like that does happen in our work. And so if it's entrapped in there, it could happen, but 99 times out of 100, it really is just the water. And as Lane was saying in the question, once you biscuit, that water is gone. So you'd have to be reintroducing water for that to be a problem. But like, there's none of our materials that are just like explosive. There's no chemicals that we're forming that like are suddenly like just need to react like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, the experience I had is somebody taking an unbisqued piece and glazing it and then putting it into the kiln. And that was a nightmare. That was potential energy that exploded.
That potential turned into kinetic energy.
Yes.
But that is real. Like once firing, a lot of people skip past, like that is essentially putting water into your greenware. And that's really dangerous. And again, you can once fire. Fiesta Ware, biggest dinnerware company in America, they once fire, but you make sure that work is dry as dry can be.
Today's episode is brought to you by the Rosenfield Collection of Functional Ceramic Art. The collection exists as an online source for research and inspiration, featuring photos of thousands of objects made by over 800 artists. The images are high quality and can be used with no permission required. To find out more, visit www.rosenfieldcollection.com.
Glazes don't make sense, but that's why Rose and I are here at ceramicmaterialsworkshop.com, helping translate glazes for real ceramicists like you. So join us for our brand new class starting October 1st. It's for everyone from beginners to masters. We clear up all the mysteries of glazes to make them work for you. Join us at ceramicmaterialsworkshop.com for making glazes make sense.
Well, this next one, I'm dying to get to because I think it's interesting. Even though we could see people come up to the phone and ask their question, this person wants to remain anonymous because of the question, which includes sanding bisque.
Hey, Kathy, Matt and Rose. I have a question here. In my own studio, I sand my bisqueware and glazeware. I use sandpaper. I wash my bisqueware and wipe my glazeware with a wet sponge. I also have a very strong air purification system to try to keep the dust down. My mentor did these processes, and I know that doesn't excuse them, but I'm wondering, how dangerous is it what I'm doing? Are there other ways that I can be smoothing my bottoms or getting all the little grits off of my bisqueware? I'm asking this as an anonymous caller, as I'm sure there are dangers in what I'm doing. Thanks.
Well, that wasn't as scandalous as I thought it was going to be, but
I don't know. You asked that on Facebook and the pitchforks are going to come out.
Well, I know. Well, no, I can't stand it. I mean, people who want to sand their bisqueware, the sanding the glaze, we'll get to that later. That's weird. But the sanding the bisqueware, people want to do all the time, but it's like you need to be in our spray booth where it's ventilated and then there's always someone in our spray booth. So then they'll go outside, but it's like, okay, well, in the right conditions, you're still breathing all that in. So it's really kind of strange. I'm like, well, why can't you just like sponge it before you put it in the bisque kiln? But I understand some people just want it crazy smooth. That's all
I will also say though, you can also polish after the fact. If you're putting glaze on it, kind of doesn't matter because the glaze should smooth things out unless you're leaving like a ton of throwing slip and it's super chunky. My buddy Ian Childers, like he does a thing where he polishes his feet and they shine smooth like glass. They're really nice. And so if it's just like the exposed parts of the clay, you can do that. And then that's mostly glass and it's wet. And so that definitely helps. As far as sanding, that's the other thing is you can wet sand just because it's bisqueware. Like why not wet sand? Green scrubbies will do, or Scotch Brite pads. We call them green scrubbies. That'll do a lot of that work, and you do it wet. And so you just wet it and wash it off and dry it again. So you don't have to do it dry. There's no reason.
Yeah.
You
For
can
the
even get
bottoms,
wet sandpaper.
Those sanding discs that are really popular now. And you do that wet. I mean, I can live with that. It sounds terrible, but it works. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the part I can't defend. As far as the dust content, there's no answer to this.
Yeah, she says she has a air purifier or air handling, so that's good.
I think it comes down to the real question that we have to return to what we've talked about before on the show, which is, what does dust really mean in a ceramic studio? And there's a lot of nuance to that. But some of it we also have to be clear. Like, first of all, everybody, it's crystalline silica is the first thing, right? It has to be silica. Our other materials don't have the same consideration. Just, if it's a feldspar, it's a feldspar. If it's kaolin, it's kaolin. The real question is respirable silica. The second question is, when it's been bisqued, if we're talking about sanding bisque, those particles have been sintered, which means that they have been effectively glued together. The particles have been bonded together, but they haven't turned into anything else. Well, because of that physical bonding, it's no longer the individual particles of silica. They're now bonded together with a larger combination of the kaolin and the feldspar and all that. And so those particles are larger, because then that comes to the third part. Because when we go back to the silicosis conversation, we have to talk about respirable silica. And that is silica that is between 7 and 10 microns, which is insanely small. That is somewhere between 1,250 mesh and 2,000 mesh. It is not just silica that is responsible for this. It is silica of a certain size. Why? Because silica doesn't float in the air. Number one. Yes, it can be aerosolized, but it is constantly falling. And so it is only the ultrafine particles that will stay suspended in the air for any long period of time. And even those are still falling. The next thing is that you then need to get them in through your nasal system. And I don't know, no matter how much we don't want to admit it, we all have hairy, boogery noses, and all of Kathy just looked like, I did not, trimming? Sir, how dare you, sir?
Exactly.
And I know Ben waxes his nostrils, but that's just to stay boyhood fresh. But no, we all have hairy noses with mucous membranes, and that is the great filtration system of our bodies. And so the thought that this ultrafine silica will bypass it really does not happen all that much. So yes, it is creating dust. Is it an actual threat dust? Not particularly. And then we can go back to, I don't remember what, we've probably talked about this multiple times. When you go and look at the studies of silica exposure in a studio, and there is a well-documented paper written by NIOSH about the exposure to dust in a ceramic studio, that they basically document that unless you are mixing clay or stacking 50-pound bags of material, you're not exposed to silica in the way that you think you are. And so that then becomes a real change in how we can consider and look at these things. That those changes are really, really important as how we are using it. And in fact, in this study, they document making glazes. They document being in the room where they're even making the clay. And all of that does not have exposure to silica to the levels that we think we do. And so that really becomes the thing that we need to be aware of when we are talking about these things. What's actually hilarious about that NIOSH paper is that they're actually much more concerned about the exhaust from the forklift that they have in the studio than they are with the silica dust. And Rose and I have been involved with studios and production facilities, dozens of them, who have all done the same testing, and they have all found the same lack of threat from silica. That's just the reality of the situation. You can fight me. You can say, I don't believe it. This is what documentation tells us. This is what the information tells us. So am I saying that it's not dusty when you've got, some sort of sanding? Yeah, it's going to be dusty. It's not the same level of exposure that we need to be concerned with for these levels of silica. So do I think it's a real threat? Yeah, wear a dust mask, wet sand, do all those types of things. But I would say, and I am not a medical professional, but I would say that it doesn't concern me. But be smart about it.
Be smart.
Words
There's my first failure.
Thank God we're here to share these gems with our listeners.
Hey, y'all, have you thought about not being dumb? Being dumb for a while, but then somebody told me, don't do that.
Oh, my goodness. All right. So we are going to move forward. Now, the next caller, I'll call them a caller because they were on our magic phone. This isn't quite a question, but let's play it anyway.
This may be a hot take, but I actually really enjoy cleaning my wheel. Feels like a really nice little fun time after having fun, just cleaning up shop, making everything nice again. I actually like it, even though I'm a muddy gremlin.
Oh. I mean, a clean wheel is nice.
That's great. I love anybody who loves cleaning a wheel. That's fantastic.
Especially, I mean, yes, the fact that I would rather spend, however amount of time it takes to clean something, to have my next session when I come in to be clean. That is worth my time. I'll lick the floor clean if I have to.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So the next time I come in, it's clean.
Well, I feel like we may have touched upon this in a prior episode, but we try and use as little water as possible when we're teaching people how to clean wheels. And I've heard of crazy stuff. What was it? Somebody said that they were only given an inch of water to clean their whole wheel, and that was all they could use for the whole semester or so. Ben, do you remember that?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think it was either a cup or 2 cups of water for a semester. So they had to recycle it.
No,
Whoa.
that is not true. There's no way.
Crazy.
I mean, water makes it worse. One of the best things I ever learned about mopping, though, was that the water for mopping is that to just spray down a layer of water and then mop it up. Don't use the water in the mop bucket. That's just your drainage. But you should just put down a layer of clean water and then mop with that. And you're just the squeegee in the mop bucket is really just to get the water that you put down up. But yeah, you don't put dirty water back. And that's the problem with cleaning with water. You're just putting the dirty water back on your surfaces, which is why you get all those levels of streaking and nastiness and all that, which is why a dry cleaning is not the worst thing in the world. It's going to.
What do you mean a dry cleaning, Matt? Tell me how you're cleaning a wheel dry.
Well, no, you
tell us all about it, Matt.
Minimal water, minimal water is absolutely true.
Different. That's different than dry, isn't it?
But no, this is what we've talked. We've had this conversation before, which is our big fandom of microfibers, because you clean it with as little water as possible, get up all the chunks and streaks, and then go over it with the microfiber dry, and that will pick up that residue and leave you with an actually clean surface. Because otherwise you're doing with a sponge. I mean, how many of us have suffered through sponges? What's it take? 4, 5 cycles, and that's dump the water, rinse out the sponge, do it, and it just goes back.
Squeeze it out with 2 hands because it's the giant yellow one.
Well, I will admit I am not the best. I am not like Rose Katz. I do not clean my wheel every time. And I will say my wheel that's behind me right now is a Brent C, and I bought it in 1998. And it's still working, still works. Sounds a little creaky, but still working. But the wheel head is essentially like pitted.
Yeah.
Aluminum.
Yeah.
That's
Ours
just the
is
aluminum.
too.
Like, but yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Well, that's this. Well, I actually, it's something I need to dig into. Somebody wrote me about this recently and said they were going to do a study, and then I never heard back from them. But yeah, aluminum will pit over time. My theory is that it has to do with sodium exposure. But actually, that's funny. We have exactly the same wheel, but mine got in 1995, so ours is even older. Still goes, but we don't throw as many pots as you do.
Nope.
All right. Well, let's end it on our last caller, which isn't a question, but I'm just going to enjoy it all the same.
Hi, Rose. This is Claire from London at NCECA. So excited to see you guys. Love the podcast. Bye.
Isn't that sweet?
Oh, that's very sweet.
Did you get to see Claire?
Oh, yes, I'm sure. We talked to so many people at NCECA. It was amazing.
Oh,
and Rose is so lovable.
Exactly. Oh. I agree. Well, anyway, so thank you everybody who participated. It means so much to us to get to actually meet you all in person. Yeah, it was just a blast. So hope we can take out the magic phone again.
We'll do it again later.
And that phone travels well. So if you're listening to this in the UK or Australia or anywhere, that phone, we can bring it to you with ourselves and do a live show.
If we can attach ourselves to the phone, that is definitely a plus. We are ready to hit the road, people. Oh, my goodness. Well, until next time, Matt, Rose, and producer Ben, bye-bye.
Later, y'all.
Bye. Well, folks, that's it for this week's episode of For Flux Sake. I'd like to thank the listeners who submitted questions this week. And if you want your question answered on the show, shoot us an email at forfluxsakepodcast@gmail.com. So join us next time. And when in your studio, remember what Rose always says.
Always remember to test, test, test. This is a test of the emergency glaze system.
Beep. Hi, everyone. If you've been leaning into our glaze deep dives to troubleshoot your studio struggles or just geek out over oxide ratios, we'd love to invite you to join us over on our Patreon.
Think of it as the flux that helps our creative process flow a little more smoothly.
Producing for Flux Sake takes a lot of behind-the-scenes chemistry, from research time to tech costs. By becoming a Patreon member, you're directly helping us keep the show independent and technical.
By supporting us at the $5 a month tier, you get access to our Patreon Flux U bonus episodes, archived for Flux Sake Season 1 and Season 2. And you get priority submission for your questions from the team to answer in future episodes. Oh, and along with exclusive for Flux Sake merch.
We know how quickly the cost of cobalt adds up, so we've kept our tiers accessible. Every bit of support means we can spend more time answering your questions and less time worrying about the business side of things.
So check out our link on our show notes or visit patreon.com and keep the conversation and the kilns firing.